Hello there, everyone. Welcome back to 3 News Now. I'm Stephanie Haney, and today is Monday, May 16th. Thank you for being here for the top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. Here on 3 News Now, this is where we bring you the stories that matter most to you in Northeast Ohio, because these are the stories that you are clicking on, reading, and sharing from our website and from our app. And we start today with a moment for the people who lost their lives this weekend in Buffalo. By now, you've probably heard about the mass shooting in Buffalo. What we do know is that an 18-year-old man is accused of shooting and killing 10 people in Buffalo. This happened on Saturday afternoon, and authorities say that it was motivated by hate, with this person targeting a supermarket in the heart of a predominantly black community. So today, we talk about the people who lost their lives in that shooting. What we know is those victims range in age from 20 to 86 years old. 11 of the victims were African American, 2 of them were white, 4 of the victims were store employees, and out of the 3 people who were hurt, 2 have been treated and released from the hospital. We also know that the 18-year-old accused of this is a white person. So here are the names of the people who lost their lives this weekend in that Buffalo shooting. Aaron Salter was 55 years old. He was the store security guard and also a retired Buffalo police officer. Ruth Whitfield was 86, and she was on her way from visiting her husband in a nursing home, and she had stopped at the store to get something to eat before heading home. Pearl Young was 77 years old and ran a food pantry in the Central Park neighborhood for 25 years, feeding people every single Saturday. She was a mom, a grandmother, and a missionary. Catherine Massey was 72 years old. Her sister, Barbara, called her a beautiful soul. She used to write for the Buffalo News, and her family says that she was the person who takes care of everything. We all have one of them in our family, and that she was amazing. Excuse me. Deacon Hayward Patterson was 67 years old, and this is a person who would often help drive people who needed a ride to that store on Jefferson Avenue. Celestine Cheney was 65 years old with 6 grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild. She was also a survivor of cancer. Roberta A. Drury was 32 years old, and her friend Crystal Pino says she was full of life, caring, and happy, and that she cared about everyone, originally from Syracuse but had been staying in the Buffalo area. Margus D. Morrison was 52 years old, was from the area of Buffalo. Andre McNeil, 53, was from Auburn, New York, but died from that shooting as well, along with Geraldine Talley, who was 62 years old, another one of the shooting victims, who died on Saturday. Our hearts go out to all of those people's family, friends, and loved ones, and everyone who was injured and impacted by the terrible shooting on Saturday in Buffalo. Now here in Cleveland, we're learning today there was a person who was fatally hit on I-90 East this afternoon. It was eastbound on I-90 between Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and Eddy Road. What we do know, this is a developing story. The person was about 40 years old, a 40-year-old man who had already passed away by the time authorities and medical personnel had arrived on the scene. Also, over the weekend, an off-duty Cleveland police officer was involved in a deadly shooting incident. That was in Wisconsin, and we do know that a 17-year-old has died as a result of those injuries. Right now, there is an investigation underway. It was a 38-year-old off-duty Cleveland police officer who Milwaukee police authorities say shot a weapon in self-defense during an attempted robbery. This happened on Sunday. The officer was not injured in the instance. The Cleveland Division of Police has said it will cooperate fully with the investigation conducted by the Milwaukee Police Department. This happened on North 17th Street in Milwaukee. The investigation is ongoing, and the Milwaukee police are looking for 2 suspects that are believed to be involved in the armed robbery attempt. Anybody with information is asked to contact the Milwaukee police. That's at 414-935-7360. Now here at home, Akron police had to respond to 2 separate robberies, one at Chase Bank and one at Key Bank this weekend. The first happened on Friday on West Market Street at 11:53 a.m., and that was at Key Bank. And that person who is accused of that robbery, is believed to be a white man in his 30s. What we do know from authorities is that the person slipped one of the bank tellers a note and said that he had a bomb, and then took money from the teller's hands and left the bank right after that. On Saturday, police responded to Chase Bank off Britain Road. That was about 9:30 a.m., where an armed robber walked into the bank, jumped to the counter, and told everyone to get on the floor and demanded that the teller fill a bag with money. And then when police arrived, that person had already left the bank. That person is described as a black male who's between 25 and 30 years old and about 5 feet 7 inches tall, weighing approximately 170 pounds. Now we switch gears to talk sports, something a bit more lighthearted for you on this Monday. Anderson Varejao will be representing the Cleveland Cavaliers at the 2022 NBA Draft. That'll be happening in Chicago. He was a former center for the Cleveland Cavaliers, played most of his professional career here in Cleveland. He was originally selected by the Orlando Magic with the number 30 pick in the 2004 NBA Draft, but then he was traded to Cleveland before his NBA career even started. Spent his first 12 seasons here in Cleveland. He was a fan favorite almost immediately, had a defensive-minded style of play, and could really get under his opponent's skin. His nickname was a Wild Thing because of his curly hair and a wild playing style. So again, spent 12 seasons with the Cavs before being traded to the Portland Blazers in 2016. Now that was a bit of an interesting time for Varejao because he then spent part of 2 seasons with the Golden State Warriors, and then because of that, faced off against the Cavs in the 2016 NBA Finals. Before spending 2 seasons playing in Brazil and then returning home to Cleveland, he played 5 games with the Cavs during the 2020-2021 NBA season and then retired as a member of the Cavs. So he will be representing the Cavaliers in the 2022 NBA Draft Lottery. Now, a lot of times the Cavs are looking to trade up and hoping to do so to get up, not trade up, but move up in the NBA Draft. Last year, Cavs were able to get their hands on Evan Mobley of the University of Southern California with the number 3 overall pick, but that does not seem like that will be the case this year. This year, the Cavs finished 8th best in the Eastern Conference before losing to the Brooklyn Nets and the Atlanta Hawks in the play-in tournament. And now they will enter the draft at the number 14 position, and that is tomorrow. Again, that's happening in Chicago. That'll be at 8 p.m. Moving on to football, Cleveland Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson will be treating the Browns offense to a team-building trip. This is something that is not necessarily new, but it will be happening this summer. You know, Baker Mayfield had famously hosted Camp Mayfield in Austin, Texas. Now, a reminder, Deshaun Watson does face 22 civil lawsuits accusing him of sexual assault. Those remain on the docket. They are not settled. They're in process. We will have to see what happens with those lawsuits. But in the meantime, he'll be taking the offense to the Bahamas for team building and also for workouts because the mandatory workouts don't start for the Browns for about a month. Now, Kevin Stefanski has said that this kind of team building is very important for the Cavs, coming off of 2 seasons where there have been very strict COVID-19 protocols. He's talking about how important it is to get these guys together, something that the Browns have been criticized for not having that team unity. You wonder how many of these locker rooms have that team unity because of the situation, because of the COVID-19 scenario. So that'll be happening. That's what the news is for the offensive side of the football for the Cleveland Browns. And if you watched the Billboard Music Awards on Sunday in Las Vegas, you might have noticed Cleveland native Machine Gun Kelly making an interesting comment about Megan Fox. You know, the two are engaged, and when he was performing before the audience at the 2022 Billboard Music Awards, he had mentioned about his song Twin Flame that he wrote it for his wife. Now, we haven't had any public mention about Megan Fox and Machine Gun Kelly getting married, and he also said this is for our unborn child. So now everyone on the internet is wondering whether they are secretly married and if they are expecting a child. So that's the conversation going on social media if you want to weigh in on that. Prior to the show, Machine Gun Kelly told Entertainment Tonight that he wrote the song 2 years ago exactly on Sunday and played it for Megan. He said it's just all the trip and it's all meant to be. Machine Gun Kelly will be back here in his hometown with his mainstream sellout tour. That'll be at First Energy Stadium on Saturday, August 13th. He'll be joined at that show by Avril Lavigne, Travis Barker, Willow, and Trippie Redd. Something else coming to Ohio in the summer is ticks. Yeah, you need to pay attention to those as the weather warms up. Dan Sullivan, who is a doctor with the Cleveland Clinic, has some reminders for us about ticks and the fact that they can cause Lyme disease, which can be very, very serious. So early symptoms might be neck stiffness, muscle aches, a low-grade fever, change in appetite, headaches, breathing issues, and arthritis. Then things can get much more serious. You can move into inflammation of the heart muscle, spinal cord swelling, or even facial paralysis. So here's what you need to know about preventing ticks, preventing those tick bites. Ticks like to hide in high grass, so keep the lawn mowed and the hedges trimmed. That's according to the doctor. When you go into the woods, cover up your exposed skin. If you're going to use insect repellent, use one that contains DEET, D-E-E-T, to help protect that exposed skin. And after being in those heavily wooded areas, do a tick check. So you're going to look behind your knees, under your arms, and on the scalps. These are places that ticks like to hide. And if you do find a tick on your skin, you can remove it with tweezers, and if you're bitten, watch for a red spot that might develop into a rash that kind of looks like a bullseye, because the bacteria is in the tick saliva and it starts to multiply, and it can expand that rash beyond the initial red mark. And as it expands, that red spot in the middle starts to fade, and that's when you get something that starts to look like a bullseye. So if you're experiencing any of those symptoms, see a doctor, because if caught early, Dr. Sullivan does remind us that Lyme disease can be cured generally and treated with antibiotics, but if not, it can get pretty bad. That is something you don't want to miss, those tick bites. And if you did miss Sunday's super flower blood moon lunar eclipse, we've got you covered for that, because NASA has archived the live stream, so you can check that out. It's beautiful. It's about an hour long. It shows the full eclipse. And if you don't have the patience or the time to watch the full hour, there's also a really great photo of the different phases of the moon throughout that lunar eclipse. That is on WKYC.com. You'll have to check it out. This was a camera shot taken near Los Angeles showing all of those different phases, and it is a very cool looking photo. Again, that's on WKYC.com and our WKYC app. That's it for your 3 News Now update today for Monday, May 16th. I will see you back here tomorrow with more 3 News Now.